In the quiet, tree-lined suburbs of Austin, Texas, where ancient oak branches arch over winding streets like protective arms, and porch lights flicker on at dusk as neighbors call good evenings across lawns, lived a woman named Sarah Collins. At first glance, her life looked ordinary: neat two-story home, reliable minivan in the driveway, a garden blooming with marigolds and lavender. But beneath that calm surface beat a heart that had learned patience the hard way. This isn't merely a story of suburban routine. It's about how one single, unexpected gesture can shatter years of quiet doubt and quietly rebuild what family really means. Sarah was 42, a pediatric nurse at St. David's Children's Hospital. Her days were long, 12-hour shifts filled with feverish toddlers, frightened parents, and the steady rhythm of monitors beeping. She chose this work because she believed in being the calm in someone else's storm. She held tiny hands during 4 starts, read stories to kids too sick to sleep, and whispered encouragements when hope felt thin. That same compassion followed her home every night, where it met its greatest test: her husband Mark and his 17-year-old son, Ethan, her stepson. Sarah never expected that the deepest, most rewarding bond of her life would grow not from shared DNA, but from years of deliberate, often unrewarded choice. When she first fell in love with Mark 5 years earlier, she understood the package deal. Mark was a high school history teacher, steady, kind, with laugh lines that told stories of both joy and grief. He'd raised Ethan mostly alone after a divorce that left scars on both father and son. From their very first date, Mark had been clear: Ethan comes first. Always. Sarah didn't just accept it, she admired it. It was part of what made him the man she wanted to marry. But stepping into stepmotherhood meant walking into a role with no script, no training, and no promise of reciprocation. Ethan was 12 when Sarah officially moved in, old enough to remember his parents' fights and the day his mom moved to Colorado, young enough that the hurt still showed in sullen silences and slammed doors. The early days were painful. Ethan treated Sarah like a polite stranger who happened to share the kitchen. "Thanks," he'd mutter when she passed the mashed potatoes. "Fine," when asked about school. He spent most evenings locked in his room with headphones and video games, emerging only for meals or when Mark insisted. Sarah felt invisible in her own home. She tried everything she could think of. She learned to make his favorite, spicy chicken tacos with extra guacamole. She sat in bleachers under blistering Texas sun, cheering louder than anyone when he scored a goal in soccer. She bought sketchbooks and charcoal pencils after overhearing him say he liked drawing graffiti-style art. Most gifts earned a quick cool before disappearing into his room. Nights were the hardest. After Ethan went to bed, Sarah would curl against Mark in the dark, whispering her fears. "What if he never lets me in? What if I'm always just Dad's wife to him?" Mark would squeeze her hand. "You're doing more than you know, Sarah. He's watching. Kids like Ethan, they test love to see if it's real. Give him time. One day he'll stop testing." She held on to those words like a lifeline. She didn't push for hugs or forced family time. Instead, she showed up consistently, quietly, without demands. She asked about his day without expecting long answers. She left notes on his desk before big tests. "You've got this." She learned the names of his friends, the songs on his playlist, the way he fidgeted when nervous. Over time, tiny shifts appeared, like first crocuses after winter. He started lingering in the kitchen while she chopped vegetables, asking offhand questions about hospital stories. He sent her a funny cat meme once, then another the next week. At soccer games, when she waved from the sidelines, he'd lift a hand in acknowledgement instead of pretending not to see her. They weren't big moments, but to Sarah they felt like miracles. Still, a quiet question lingered. Did he truly see her as more than an extra adult in the house? Then came one crisp December evening that answered it forever. Christmas lights twinkled across the neighborhood, wreaths hung on doors, and the scent of pine drifted from open windows. Sarah had pulled extra shifts at the hospital. Many kids on her floor couldn't go home for the holidays, and she refused to leave them without someone who knew their favorite stuffed animal or bedtime song. She loved her work, but the long days left her bone-tired. That Friday she arrived home after 9 p.m., shoulders aching, scrubs smelling faintly of antiseptic. She expected the house to be dark and quiet, Mark probably asleep, Ethan in his room. Instead, warm golden light spilled from every window. Soft instrumental holiday music, maybe Silent Night on piano, floated out. The front door was cracked open, a ribbon of cinnamon-scented air escaping. Sarah stepped inside, confused and curious. "Mark? Ethan?" "Up here, Sarah." Ethan's voice called from upstairs, nervous, almost shy. She hung her coat, kicked off her shoes, and climbed the stairs slowly. As she reached the hallway landing, she froze. The entire upstairs hallway had been transformed. White fairy lights draped along the banister and door frames, twinkling like captured stars. Handmade paper snowflakes, some a little crooked, clearly cut by inexperienced hands, hung from the ceiling on threads. A large banner stretched across the wall, letters carefully painted in red and green. "Thank you, Sarah." Tears pricked her eyes before she even understood. Ethan stepped out of his room, holding a flat, wrapped package. At 17 he was tall now, broad-shouldered from soccer, but in that moment he looked small again, fidgeting, cheeks flushed. "Ethan, what is all this?" He swallowed. "I wanted to do something. For you. You've done so much for me. For us. I know I wasn't easy when you first got here. I was mad at everything. Mom leaving, the divorce, you showing up like nothing happened. I pushed you away. A lot. But you never left. You kept showing up. You made tacos even when I said I hated them at first. You came to every game, even when it rained. You learned my stupid memes and laughed at them. You treated me like I mattered, even when I acted like you didn't." His voice cracked slightly. Sarah pressed a hand to her mouth. "I noticed," he continued. "All of it. I just didn't know how to say it. Until now. He held out the package. Open it. Her hands trembled as she unwrapped it. Inside was a thick, handmade scrapbook, leather cover embossed with a simple heart. She opened the first page. Photos, her and Ethan at his first soccer practice with her. He'd scowled then. A blurry selfie they'd taken at a food truck, her cheering from the bleachers, him glancing over with the tiniest smile, ticket stubs from the family trip to the Austin Aquarium, a pressed wildflower from their backyard picnic last summer. Every page told a story she'd almost forgotten, proof that he'd been paying attention all along. The final page had only one thing, a handwritten letter in Ethan's neat, slanted print. Dear Sarah, you didn't have to love me, but you did anyway. Not because you had to, but because you chose to. Every day. Thank you for being my other mom. I love you, Ethan. Tears spilled freely down Sarah's cheeks. She looked up at him, really looked, and saw not the guarded boy from years ago, but a young man who'd finally let the walls fall. She stepped forward and pulled him into a hug. He hesitated for half a second, old habit, then wrapped his arms around her tightly, chin resting on her shoulder. I love you too, she whispered into his hair. So much. Mark appeared in the doorway, eyes shining, smiling quietly. He'd known, of course. He'd helped hang the lights. In that glowing hallway, surrounded by twinkling lights and paper snowflakes, something unbreakable was sealed. Family, not born, but chosen, nurtured, and finally returned in full. Sometimes the loudest declarations of love come not in words shouted from rooftops, but in quiet, handmade gestures from a teenage boy who finally found the courage to say thank you. If this story warmed your heart, hit like, subscribe to Tales by Riley for more emotional family moments, and share your own step-family wins in the comments. We read every one. Red Heart Hash.